Welcome to Celtic Chalk Talk, another good week of basketball for the Celtics. My name's Steve Purciello, diehard Celtic fan. Go back to the Bill Russell days, can tell you stories. Remember those days fondly, though I didn't get to see him as often on TV as we do today. But let's look at the Celtics at the present time. Last week, good week, 3-1. I look at the Denver game, which was the second game as a scheduling loss. I'll get into that in a minute. But first game they opened up with was with Phoenix last week. With Jaylen Brown out, even though Phoenix didn't have Booker and Brooks, you're worried. And Boston just played one of the best third quarters of the year. They beat Phoenix 30-11 in the quarter, but their defense, probably one of the better defensive efforts I've seen in quite a while from a team. Phoenix couldn't score. They just couldn't score. Boston just shut them off completely. White shot in the first half. In the second half, Scheierman had a double and he played well. Good defender he is. In the third quarter, Queta and Hauser came to life. Hauser had 8 quick points in that quarter. His three-point shooting, if he gets open, it's really something beautiful to watch. And what's really interesting about Hauser, also, you get to gauge how another team is prepared for the Celtics. If Hauser's getting wide open, it tells you they didn't really pay a lot of attention to detail, and they've allowed this guy to go off on them. But anyway, the Phoenix game was an easy game for the Celtics. But now the next game was Denver the next night. Now, you're not happy because earlier in the year, Denver beat Boston in Boston, and they did it in a way that wasn't very easy to watch. Jokic didn't play, and Boston just didn't play well. And at that point in the year, it was in early January, you're questioning whether the Celtics are good or who knows. But now I can tell you they're good. But I looked at it as a scheduling loss. In the third quarter, and you could tell something in a team in a back-to-back, the third quarter is the key quarter, and generally in a back-to-back, the third quarter is the team on the back-to-back has a rougher time. In this game, the third quarter, Denver went off on a 10-0. It was a back-and-forth game until then, and Denver just went off on a 10-0, and that was the game. Vooch didn't play well. He's been struggling up until that point offensively. We got him there to play and to score, but he really didn't have it that night, and it was upsetting because we needed him to really help us in this kind of game because, again, the back-to-back situation. It was tough, and you begin to think to yourself, he's 35. He ain't going to bring it every night. It just doesn't happen as you age. So you just left it. Now we come to Friday night and then play the Nets. In the first 2 quarters, I'm saying, this team they think they can beat Boston, and they just give us a hard time. Every time. The Nets were on a back-to-back, and now we go to the third quarter. Boston outscored them 43-26. Everything was working. They shot the ball. The Nets stopped playing. Their defense, the Nets, was terrible. JB went off. He for a few minutes and just scored or passed or assisted for everything Boston did for about 15 points or so. And it just was incredible. In the game, a great thing to look at, the Celtics shot 67% from the floor, 65% from 3. Think about that for a while. 22 for 34. They just couldn't miss, and they were getting open shots because the Nets, I guess you might say, they were going through the motions, and it just looked like a team that just didn't. Once Boston got on them in the third, it was over, and they just wanted to get it out of there and go back to Brooklyn. And so Boston had an easy time, and it was good. JB's 28 points came in really 2.5 quarters of play, and he was dominating for a stretch in that game. Now we look at the Sixers last night. Interesting game, and it was a Queta night. It was a breakout night. He had 27 and 17. 27 and 17. Think about that for a while. Think about how far this man has come in his 3 years with Boston. It's really remarkable because he's made himself into a pretty good center. 2 blocks. I didn't think he'd be this good earlier in the year. I was calling for somebody bulkier in the middle, but he held his own. In fact, he made Andre Drummond look really bad. And I guess Drummond is getting near the end of the career, but he just ate him alive. He had two beautiful blocks. He just did things that were tremendous. I think Boston's going to have to make some decisions. He's got one more year on a contract. They're going to have to figure out how to pay him and get him his money, because he's just way better, and they might as well look to pay him now before it gets even better and there's more money involved, and they can't afford to pay him. It was a good win. They were down 10 early, 25-15. I'm thinking, oh God, we're in trouble. And they didn't shoot well, but from that point on, they just took over the game. And down the stretch, the Boston Celtics, you got a little nervous. They cut it to 6 Philly, and Maxey didn't have a great night. He could still score. He was, I believe, 34 shots or 33 shots and 34 points, whatever. It wasn't a great night for him, and I think Baylor Scheierman gets a great deal of that credit for his defense in the game. It just worked out for Boston. They did have 10 offensive rebounds in the game, and now we go back to Drummond, who was self-proclaimed one of the greatest rebounders in basketball history. So that was the game down the stretch. Queta put it away with a big dunk and an N1 after him and Edgecombe were fighting for the ball. He grabbed it, put it up, and he got whacked to get the three-point play. The 10 offensive rebounds, obviously, that was an offensive rebound when he did that. That was a big basket at that time and kind of put it away. It was the big play of the game that I guess Boston then took an 8-point lead with 2 minutes, and it made it a little safer for Boston. Negatives. Boston was sloppy. There were a lot of plays. The turnovers were there. They were very sloppy. There were a lot of bad passes. Like, they would take a pass from the point to the wing, and the defensive wing was overplaying, and they would throw it, and they'd pick it. Philly'd pick it and go down for a layup. It happened a few times, and it just didn't sit well because you're just sloppy. You're playing sloppy basketball. The other negative, and I hope it's just a blip, was Peyton Pritchard. Not only did he not score, after about by the third quarter, I guess, he wasn't looking to score. He would dribble into the paint, and usually he makes that fall away or something in there, and he would kick it back out. And Boston, they got by because of Queta's game, but they need Peyton Pritchard to score. And he wasn't really thinking about scoring, and that's a difficult thing. But otherwise, it was a good win. It settled things down with Philadelphia. Philadelphia is in 6th place fighting for a playoff spot. Now, as for what I did see over the week, they do need more. They got some from Vucevic on the last 2 games, but they need more on a more consistent basis. He's going to play 20 minutes a night. He's not out there to defend. He's out there to score. Last night he shot well with the 3, and he's an added weapon. Al Horford can shoot, not as good a defender, but can shoot, and he can post. Horford could shoot and can break games up with his wide open threes that he hit last year. But we need that consistently from Vucevic, just the shooting part, not all the other things. And by that, the open 3. If he does that, he brings the big man out, and that opens up things for Jaylen Brown and also Pritchard and D. White. So it's a very important piece that Boston needs when they put him in. With Queta, he's not a threat to hit a 3 right now. So it's a little bit different. Baylor Scheierman, God, he moves his feet. He looks like he's slow, but he's always in front of the ball. He contains dribbles. He's also a very good rebounder, and even when he doesn't rebound, he knocks the ball out. Now, he's going to be the guy that probably gets hurt minute-wise when Tatum hopefully comes back. But he's really proven his worth. And his shooting can get better, though he's playing with a broken thumb. And let's give him credit for playing with a broken thumb. So Baylor Scheierman deserves a lot of credit for what he does on the court. He's an unsung part of Boston's offense. Against the Nets, we saw how good the offense could be when everybody is shooting well. It's really, the ball moves, guys just whack down the threes, and it's really indefensible if the ball does move. And that was fun to watch. The other thing that was interesting was Queta's development. He's becoming a player. better than the average center and heading upward. That can only help Boston. As I mentioned before about the signing of him, it would be a great idea for Boston to look into that this summer, because get him now before the amount of money goes off the charts. The last thing I want to just talk about is Jayson Tatum. There's a lot of talk. Bill Simmons today was talking that he thought he'd be back Friday. That's what I thought. I had hoped it would be last night, but I think it'll be Friday against Dallas, because that'll be if Cooper Flag plays, it'll be a crowd that'll be into the game, and seeing Tatum come back will be just more for the Celtics to look forward to and see how he can integrate into what they have. As Tatum said, I didn't come back to be a role player. And if he comes back and is near as great as he was, Boston has a great shot at advancing in the playoffs. That's it for this week. We'll be back next week, like always, with Celtic Chalk Talk. Thank you, and take care.